Hey, this is Eric Jarvis from Los Osos Middle School, and I'm going to show you how to start your gradebook up from scratch at the very beginning of the year. You'll notice I have my classes. I don't have any gradebooks. And we're going to fix that using the Mass Add Gradebook feature from scratch. Okay, so our starting point is to click on Gradebook here on the left. And notice there's three buttons here: Add a Gradebook, Add Mass Gradebooks, and Copy Gradebooks. Now, Add Gradebook is you would be adding one gradebook separately, one at a time. And I would use that feature because I have one class with different reporting periods. I was the guy that taught an elective wheel. I had one class that met that got their final grade every 10 weeks. So Mass Add Gradebooks, all the classes have to have the same reporting terms. Most of us, that's the case. Okay, for most of us, that's gonna work beautifully, myself included. And Copy Gradebooks is if you used weighted categories, you had it all set up perfectly last year, you can use your gradebook from last year, just how you set it up with all your options and stuff. And I have another tutorial for that. Plus, if your partner teacher set everything up, their weighted categories and options, and you want to do exactly what they did, you could copy their gradebook from this term, and my other tutorial goes over that. But in this tutorial, I'm going to go over Mass Add Gradebooks from scratch. And all these classes have the same reporting term, meaning they get their final grade on December 22nd, 2021, all of them. And then I'm going to make a new gradebook and start over in January. So I'm going to select, for me, I'm selecting all 5 of my classes. I don't have any elective wheel that has a different reporting term. If you do, you might have to go in and do 2 sets of these. Do another round where you're doing your elective wheel classes, or just use one gradebook, add it as one gradebook. Let me know if you need help with that. And here's where you select your reporting term. You don't want to select year. That's the first option, because I think for the majority of us, the grades start over somewhere maybe in December. Like, you might have the same kids, but the grades start all over, and that's my case. So these are semester-long classes. First day of school's August 19th, and then they get their final grade for fall semester or semester 1 on December 22nd. Then I'm going to make a new gradebook that starts on January 11th, and they have assignment 1. They start from scratch, and it goes to the last day of school. So I'm only going to select one term, and it's going to be, for me, it's going to be fall semester, the current term. So just check that ending date, make sure it's correct. Don't check the end of the school year, because that's, for the majority of us, I don't think that's how it works. And now I'm going to create the gradebooks by clicking Create Gradebooks. And there we go. My gradebooks are created. And now what I'm going to want to do is link some of these courses. I also need to add categories. Every gradebook, this is normally where I'd say add an assignment. Every gradebook has to have one category. You might be saying, hey, I don't do weighted categories. You still have to have one category. If you just have one category, it could just be called assignments if you'd like. But I'm going to go ahead and do that. But first, I'm going to link my gradebook. So when I add my categories to English, I get the same categories for all my English classes. And when I add an assignment to English, it's going to add it to all my English classes. I'll do the same. So I'm going to link my gradebooks together. And I think it's important to do it before I add the categories, because that way I have to add categories fewer times. So I'm going to click Link Gradebook right up here. There's Link Gradebook. And I'm going to have English be Group 1. You give them a 1, and now they're linked. They're both in Group 1. And World History is Group 2. So now my categories that I create for World History will be in both my World History classes. And then any assignment I give to Period 2, World History, will also be assigned to Period 5. Now, if later on in the year the 2 classes start doing some different work, I can unlink them and then bring them back together. And my Steam isn't linked to anything, so I'm going to leave that at 0. 0 means it's not part of a group. And now I'm just going to click Save here. And let's take a look at it. Now I have my English classes are a group, and my Social Studies classes are a group. And Steam this is my no group. It says ungrouped here. Okay. All right, the next step is I need to add categories. Remember, you have to have at least one category. So I'm going to click Add Categories. I'm going to have assignments. And I'll add a new one. And I do projects. And I do assessments, right? You can add anything you want. And then the colors are really nice to have. It really gives you a visual when you're looking at how your students are doing on the assignments, the projects, and the assessments. Okay. Now, these aren't weighted. So by default, it's total points. It's whatever points that assignment is worth and that test is worth or assessment. If you want to do weighted grading, you have to click this little button here, and it's going to prompt you to add numbers here. So if you're doing weighted, let's say I am doing weighted, and you could say assessments are worth, or maybe I should say assessments 50 points and projects 25, and you could do this however you'd like. And now I have weighted categories, okay? And now I'm going to click save, and I go back to my dashboard, and I linked my English classes so they both have the categories, and I could add an assignment here and add an assignment here. Now I need to do the same for my history, and maybe I'll just add categories. Now let's just say I do total points. So if I do total points for history, I don't click the weighted scoring. I just click save. And then back here. And I have one more class I have to add the categories to. And I think you've seen enough. Me adding categories, so I'll do it. And come back to the dashboard on my own here. So I have this, and now these all say add assignments. Whoops. Instead of add categories. Remember, you have to have at least one category. You don't have to weight them. Okay, so the next step is it wants me to add students, and this is red, indicating I have students to add or drop. And throughout the year, you might see that red. It means somebody's dropped your class. You need to get them out of your gradebook eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. That's our next step. Get the students in there. And I can click all entering students at the beginning of the year. You notice they have a little drop down here, and you'll have access to that. I'll show you more on that later. And I'm going to click add all students. So now it's adding all the students to all my grade levels. And this can take like 4 to 7 minutes. So I'm just going to watch this circle go around and around and around. And that was a lot of fun. Took about 3 minutes, and I'm done. And I click close, and I have all of my students in my gradebook. So my next step is I have some options for my gradebook. I could start adding assignments and get going here because I have my categories, I have all my students in there, but I'm going to show you some stuff on managing your gradebook. So you can click on, I'm going to click my first period and say manage this gradebook. And you'll notice I have options. This is the term. So if for some reason you checked the wrong term here, here's where you could come back. If you wanted to rename your class, this is how it's displayed to students. If you wanted to say something different, you could have it say something different. And okay, this is the edit gradebook. And if you completely messed up, you can I be careful. You could actually delete your whole gradebook here, which is a little scary. But if you're at the startup point and you just want to start from scratch, you could potentially do that. All right, now you can hear the options that I wanted to go over. And I'll let you guys read on your own some of them, but I'm going to go over a couple of important ones I think are I like to use a lot. I import assignments from Illuminate and Google Classroom, and by default, I do mostly formative. So I'm going to have a default to formative. Now, every assignment in Aeries you assign as either formative or summative. Okay, in addition to the categories. So the next one is how are my scores when I look at my scores and the scores by class, which just looks like kind of like the spreadsheet format. It defaults to doing ascending, meaning the first assignment I assign moving to the right as it goes out through the year. I don't know anyone who likes that. But I'm going to go descending. I want next to their grade, the last assignment, the most recent assignment, all the way to the left by their name and their final grade, and then moving backwards in time. So if I want to move backwards, then I scroll. I don't want to have to scroll to the right to get to the most current assignment. So I think this is crucial. Okay. And here's another one. So if you want, if you're having kids dropping your class and coming into your class, you can have the new students added to your gradebook every time you load the scores by class page. Also, we have minimum score, minimum assignment value, maximum assignment value. That means it defaults here to 50. If I leave this on and I give a kid a 0, Aeries will calculate it as 50% in their final score. Okay, kind of a lot of people have strong opinions about this feature. And also some people give extra credit, and if you're typing the points, it'll max out at 150% of what the assignment is worth for extra credit. Okay. And you can read through this, but display the final mark. Some people really like it for students to see they didn't turn in the first assignment and how greatly that affects your grade. Some people like to keep it off for a little while. So if I uncheck parents and students, they're not going to see what their final grade is yet. They'll see they missed the first assignment, but they won't see they're getting F in the class because there was one assignment and they didn't turn it in. But only I will see the final grades. Okay, so I usually leave both of these on. And then trend analysis. I like the trend analysis. It kind of shows a little equal sign, a little arrow up, a little arrow down. You have to have a minimum number of assignments. It's 5 or 7 or something like that for that to kick in. But I like having that kick in. The other one you might want to consider is set grading completed automatically. Personally, I like to say, this was new to us PowerSchool users who use PowerSchool. You have to click grading complete. So then it's not missing until you click grading complete. So if you want grading complete to be implemented automatically when every student has a score already, either missing or a 0 or something's in every student's score, it'll automatically say, I'm done grading. I like having control over that. Okay, so there's my options. And now this options are only applying to my first period English class here. And I want them to apply to all my classes. And the linking of the grades I did doesn't apply to options. So I have to do it for every class. But the cool thing is I can copy them to my other gradebooks. And I'm going to do that right now. I'll just copy them to all the gradebooks. These are all the changes I made in the options. And I go next, here are all my gradebooks. And I say copy options. And so they've all been copied. And then here are once again, here are the categories I set. And you can change these if you want. You can go back to weighted scoring, or total points and experiment with that. And then here's a list of your assignments. Final marks are the grading scale. Be really careful if you're messing with the grading scale, because if you have a gap, you can mess things up. And then rules has to do, you can add a rule where you drop, I won't go into it right now, but you can drop the lowest test score, etc. Say type like, you can say assessment, drop the lowest. I'm not going to go into it right now. So, but that's for you. You can explore that. Okay, let's go back to the dashboard here. You can always get to your dashboard. And then check out all your assignments here, and let's add a practice assignment. So I'll call this one practice. I had it, we'll say formative or summative, and then I can give it, these are the categories I created. They'll just say it's an assignment. If you're gonna give extra credit, if it's just an extra credit assignment, you can mark extra credit. The dates need to be within the term that we selected. Okay, and then I had this default, correct possible. I like to grade percentages and then say how many points it's worth. Most teachers probably have these as being the same. So this is this is the percent they got, and it's worth 10 points. For a lot of the teachers I know like to just have these to say, hey, it's 10 points, you got all 10 points. If you're a percent grader like I am, like that, you got a 85%, you could type 85 and it'll show you points out of 10. You can change this how you like. Can clarify. A lot of people kind of get confused by that. So if that kind of confuses you, just number correct possible, points possible. They can be different. If you're like me and I grade a lot of things by percent, 80%, but I only want it to be worth 20 points in the final grade. I like to enter by the percentage they got on whatever assignment they did. Okay. I could push this out to other gradebooks, but I linked mine so I don't have to. So I can click Save and Close. And so I have my first assignment all set. And I can go to the class. This is my scores by class. So there's a couple ways to enter scores. I can do scores by class. And I could say, Oops, it was 100. They got 100%. All right, and then you can see they're getting the grade. So as I can just go through and edit, or I can go to the enter scores section. I have more options here. Just gonna kind of go through. And if I link this down, I can mass fill. Well, let's see, this kid got 5. When I did it, if they were absent, also I like this clicking grade by assignment versus scores by class. I like to jump into that because I can see if they were either their attendance if they were absent on the due date or they were absent when I assigned it. Okay, and then I also have some codes I can put to the student. Yeah, you're absent and you're able to make it up or don't make it up, or it was incomplete or late. This has no bearing on the score. I know in Power School you could say incomplete and give them 50%. It automatically give them 50%. But this just communicates to the student and or the parent that maybe it was late or something. And then, okay, so I'll just go through here. Okay, you can see I entered in some numbers and I was mistaken. I had this out of 20, but I can do the markings here. I can add a little comment that they will see. And now I haven't finished grading it. So, if I go to scores by class now, you'll see students that didn't do anything, it's not affecting their grade. Okay. So it just says no. Notice I have this one NA. I'll show that. Let me go back and say enter scores or score by assignment. Either one, enter scores, or I can check that here. So NA is their excuse from the assignment. And then TX means temporarily excused. And that's just a message to them and me that, I'm going to give you extra time. And then I say, I could put a little status, you're absent, but you're able to make it up, or make a note, whoops, wrong kid. Just do that. You can do that, or you can make a little comment, please have done by this date. And if they don't, I can just take that away. And anything blank, right now it's not counting against them because my grading's not complete. I have to mark grading complete. And there's a couple places you can do that here. So it's kind of important. You can click here and say grading complete, or on the enter scores, there's a couple places you can click it. Now, as soon as I click grading complete, it doesn't matter where it is, and this pop up. Those with blanks are going to have an F. Okay, so grading complete. I'm done now, and now it's calculating the blanks as Fs, and you'll see also the missing assignments are showing up in orange. But the TX, and I don't know what happened to it before, is not counting against their grade. Temporarily excused. If I give them a little, temporarily excuse me, I'm going to give it a little more time, but if they never turn it in, I can just delete that, and now they get the score. And then if I made a comment, this little marking here indicates I put a status or I made a comment, and here I said, hey, you were absent, but I did give you a makeup date here. So they mouse over and they can see that. Okay, so there's a little bit on grading, and then that same assignment is in my other English class as well. And in another tutorial I have how to import from Google Classroom. But I think you're kind of set. This should give you the skills to kind of get started, and good luck with that gradebook. And let me know if you need help. There's lots of tutorials at lomsedtech.net. Check it out. How to import from Google Classroom. Lots of features, more on those assignment codes and all kinds of other stuff. So good luck, everyone.